Captain Ryan Hayes sat in the command chair of the Starship Odyssey, staring at the holographic map of the uncharted sector. The stars outside the viewport seemed calm and distant, but he felt a restless energy within him. Ryan had led many missions before, but something about this expedition felt different. There was an unknown thrill in discovering the unknown, a chance to see worlds no human had ever touched. Around him, the crew moved with focused determination. Laura Mills, the pilot, checked the navigation systems, her fingers moving over the console with precision. She was calm and collected, always able to make split-second decisions that could save their lives. Kevin Brooks, the engineer, was hunched over a panel, adjusting the power output of the ship's engines. His work was meticulous, and Ryan trusted him to keep Odyssey running even in the worst situations. Daniel Price, the scientist, was analyzing sensor readings, his eyes wide with curiosity and wonder. He had always been fascinated by alien life, and the prospect of discovering something new excited him more than anything. "Captain," Laura said, her voice breaking his thoughts. "We are approaching the coordinates. Sensors are picking up unusual energy readings on the surface." Ryan leaned forward. "Unusual energy readings? Show me." The holographic display shifted to show a planet that shimmered with faint, pulsating lights. The surface seemed alive with strange patterns of energy. Ryan's heart raced. "This is what we were sent to find. Prepare a landing party. I want to know what's causing those readings." Kevin raised an eyebrow. "Captain, these readings are strong. We don't know what we might find," Ryan nodded. "I know, but we can't turn back now. We are explorers. It's our duty to find out." The landing craft detached from the Odyssey and descended through the planet's atmosphere. The ground was covered in jagged rocks and glowing vegetation that seemed to pulse like it had a heartbeat. Daniel moved cautiously, scanning every rock and plant with his portable analyzer. "Captain, the energy readings are coming from those structures over there," Daniel said, pointing to strange towers rising from the surface. They looked like they were carved from crystal, reflecting the dim light of the alien sun. Ryan's eyes narrowed. "Let's get closer. Move slowly and stay alert. We don't know what's out here." As the team approached the towers, a sudden wave of movement caught their attention. Shadows darted between the structures, too quick to identify. Laura's hand went to her sidearm. "Did you see that?" Kevin swallowed hard. "I think something is watching us." Before Ryan could respond, the shadows coalesced into a form. Tall, armored creatures emerged, their eyes glowing with intelligence and a cold sense of purpose. The Zarathi, the species rumored to be the most lethal predators in the galaxy, stood before them. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard stories of their hunting skills, their unmatched speed, and their ability to strike without warning. Ryan raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "We come in peace. We are explorers from the human fleet." The Zarathi didn't respond. Instead, one of them moved forward, scanning the humans with a piercing gaze. It was clear they understood the humans, but they showed no sign of fear or recognition. Their presence alone was enough to make the humans feel vulnerable. Daniel whispered, "Captain, these readings are off the charts. Their energy signature is unlike anything I've ever seen. They are far beyond us in technology and power." Ryan took a deep breath. "We cannot retreat. We must collect what we came for, then leave if it becomes too dangerous." They carefully approached the towers, taking samples of the glowing crystals and recording data. The Zarathi watched silently, their movements calculated and precise. Each human step felt like a gamble, each breath heavy with tension. Suddenly, a loud hum echoed across the landscape. The ground trembled as a massive Zarathi scout ship descended from orbit. Its sheer size and sleek design made it clear this was no simple patrol. Ryan realized that their actions had triggered a response. Humanity had just drawn the attention of the most lethal species alive. Laura gripped the controls of the landing craft. "Captain, they are not attacking yet, but they are definitely aware of us." Ryan nodded, his mind racing. "We need to move fast. Collect as much data as we can. Kevin, make sure the engines are ready for immediate takeoff. Daniel, secure the samples and get them aboard." The crew worked efficiently despite the tension. Kevin recalibrated the landing craft's thrusters, ensuring they could escape at a moment's notice. Daniel carefully packed the samples, taking extra precautions to avoid contamination. Laura monitored the sensors, ready to react if the Zarathi made a move. Ryan kept his eyes on the scout ship. It hovered silently like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Every decision he made now could mean life or death for his crew. "We are ready," Kevin said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "Engines are at full capacity," Ryan nodded. "Then let's go. Laura, lift off slowly and keep an eye on their movements." The landing craft rose smoothly, leaving the surface behind. As they climbed into orbit, the scout ship followed, its sensors tracking their every move. Ryan felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Humanity was now on the radar of a species known for exterminating anything that threatened them. Back on the Odyssey, Ryan convened the crew. "We have samples and data, but the Zarathi know we exist. We need to consider our next steps carefully. This could mean war, whether we want it or not." Laura's expression was grim. "War with them? Captain, they are beyond anything we have faced. Our weapons might not even scratch them." Ryan met her gaze. "I know, but humans are clever. We survive because we adapt. If they want to challenge us, we will show them that courage and strategy are just as powerful as strength and technology." Daniel added, "Captain, the data we collected could help us understand their weaknesses. It's risky, but it might give us a chance." Kevin shook his head. "I don't like it. Facing them head-on is suicide. We need to find a way to avoid direct conflict." Ryan nodded. "Agreed, we will not be reckless. But we also cannot ignore the fact that we are now on their radar. We need to prepare for anything." As the crew worked to analyze the data and reinforce the ship's defenses, Ryan reflected on the situation. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest or the most technologically advanced. But what set them apart was their ingenuity, their ability to think differently, and their courage in the face of impossible odds. He thought of the generations of explorers, soldiers, and scientists who had faced challenges far greater than their size or power would suggest. Humanity survived because they never gave up, because they always found a way to turn disadvantages into advantages. Ryan knew the coming days would test them in ways they had never imagined. The Zarathi were relentless hunters, and their intelligence made them even more dangerous. But he also knew that humans had a way of surprising even the deadliest predators. As Odyssey prepared to leave the planet, Ryan stood on the observation deck, staring at the horizon. The alien sun cast long shadows over the jagged landscape, and the scout ship lingered in orbit watching. He felt a surge of determination. "We have made our mark," he said quietly. "The Zarathi know we exist. Now it is up to us to show them what humans can do." Laura joined him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Captain, we will get through this. We have each other and we know how to fight smart." Ryan nodded. "Yes, together we can face anything. We may have just declared war on the deadliest species alive, but humans do not back down. We survive, we adapt, we fight." The Odyssey soared into the depths of space, carrying with it the boldest crew humanity had ever sent to the stars. Unknown dangers awaited them, but Ryan Hayes and his team were ready. The adventure had just begun, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not a species to be underestimated. The Odyssey sailed silently through deep space, leaving the shimmering planet behind. Captain Ryan Hayes paced the command deck, thinking about the encounter with the Zarathi. The knowledge that a species more lethal than anything humanity had faced was aware of them weighed heavily on his mind. He knew that every decision from now on would be critical. Laura Mills monitored the ship's sensors. "Captain, there are no signs of immediate pursuit, but the Zarathi are tracking our energy signature. They know where we are." Ryan nodded. "We need to plan our next steps carefully. This is no longer exploration. This is survival." In the science lab, Daniel Price was examining the samples collected from the alien planet. The glowing crystals emitted a faint energy pulse. Daniel tapped on the console, observing the readings. "Captain, these crystals are incredible. Their energy could power a small city. But I also see that they are connected to a network of structures. The Zarathi may use this to coordinate their movements." Kevin Brooks joined him. "So these creatures are not only deadly hunters, but they also have advanced technology. We are truly dealing with something beyond our understanding." Daniel nodded. "Yes, but if we study this carefully, we might discover weaknesses. Even the strongest species has vulnerabilities." Ryan entered the lab, his expression serious. "Daniel, Kevin, we need to find those weaknesses. The Zarathi may be lethal, but humans have something no species can predict: creativity and courage." The crew gathered in the conference room. Ryan began outlining a strategy. "We are now known to the Zarathi. They may strike at any moment. but we cannot act recklessly. Our goal is to learn and survive. We need to strengthen our defenses, gather intelligence, and prepare for any encounter. Laura leaned forward. Captain, we need to consider where to hide if they come after us. This ship is fast, but if they are faster, we may not outrun them. Ryan agreed. Good point. We will use the asteroid fields and debris belts. They provide natural cover, and we can set traps if necessary. Kevin, I want modifications to our engines and weapons to exploit those environments. Kevin nodded, already thinking of ideas. I can adjust the propulsion for short bursts of speed, and I can modify the weapons to fire in a wider pattern. It's risky, but it may give us an edge. Daniel spoke up. I can analyze the data from the planet to predict their movements. If we understand their patterns, we can anticipate their attacks. Ryan smiled slightly. Exactly. Humans survive because we adapt. We think differently. The Zarathi may be stronger, but they are not human. Days passed as the Odyssey drifted through uncharted space. The crew worked tirelessly to analyze the data and implement defensive measures. Ryan spent long hours reviewing strategy, thinking about how to use human ingenuity to survive against an enemy that was nearly perfect in every way. One evening, while Ryan was reviewing the sensor logs, an alert sounded. A small Zarathi reconnaissance probe had detected the Odyssey. Laura's fingers flew over the controls, ready to evade the probe. Kevin monitored the systems while Daniel quickly analyzed the incoming data. It's a warning, Daniel said. They are testing us. They want to see how we react. Ryan nodded. Let's give them a response, but not in the way they expect. Laura, simulate a course change while keeping the ship in stealth mode. Make it look like we are fleeing, but stay in range to gather information. Laura executed the maneuver with precision. The probe moved closer, scanning the Odyssey. Ryan held his breath as they watched its movements. Then, using a signal jammer designed by Kevin, they disrupted the probe's sensors. It spun out of control and was forced to retreat. That was too close, Laura said, exhaling slowly. They are more aggressive than I thought. Ryan looked at his crew with determination. This is just the beginning. Every encounter teaches us something. We must remain sharp, think ahead, and never underestimate them. In the following weeks, the Odyssey began a series of reconnaissance missions. They studied the Zarathi ships, observing patterns in their behavior and collecting as much intelligence as possible. Each encounter was tense, but humans proved to be unpredictable. They avoided direct combat, used stealth, and employed clever tactics that confused the Zarathi. Daniel discovered that the Zarathi relied heavily on their communication network. If we disrupt their signals, even temporarily, it may give us an advantage in future encounters, he explained. Ryan nodded. We will need to test that, but carefully. We cannot provoke them too much until we are ready. Kevin worked day and night on modifications to the Odyssey. He reinforced the hull, improved the energy shields, and installed devices that could interfere with Zarathi sensors. Every upgrade made the crew feel a little more confident. They were still humans facing an almost unbeatable species, but they were finding ways to fight smart. One day, while scanning a dense asteroid field, the Odyssey detected a Zarathi ship moving toward them at high speed. Laura piloted the Odyssey expertly, weaving between asteroids while Ryan and Kevin coordinated defensive systems. Daniel used the collected data to predict the enemy's trajectory. The Zarathi ship fired energy pulses that ricocheted off asteroids. Kevin activated a shield enhancement that absorbed most of the energy. Daniel suggested a countermeasure that involved a reflective pulse which confused the Zarathi sensors. Ryan ordered a daring move. They would hide in a narrow crevice between two massive asteroids. The Zarathi ship followed, but the tight space made their maneuvering difficult. The Odyssey slipped past undetected and gained distance. Ryan's heart pounded. They had survived another encounter, but it was a reminder of how deadly the enemy was. Afterward, the crew gathered to discuss what had happened. That was risky, Captain, Laura said. One wrong move and we would have been destroyed. Ryan nodded. Yes, but it worked because we thought differently. We used our brains, not just our weapons. That is what makes us human. We survive because we can adapt, not because we are the strongest. Daniel added, I've been studying the Zarathi behavior. They are intelligent, but they seem to rely on predictable hunting patterns. If we continue to analyze and anticipate them, we may find opportunities to strike or escape. Kevin leaned back. It's terrifying, but I feel like we are learning to fight on their level. We are discovering that humans are capable of more than we imagined. Ryan looked at his team and felt pride. Despite the fear and danger, they were facing a species that could easily annihilate them, and they were surviving. They were showing that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could give humanity a chance, even against the most lethal species in the galaxy. As the Odyssey continued its journey, Ryan made a decision. We cannot ignore the fact that war may be inevitable. We will continue to gather intelligence, prepare our defenses, and learn everything we can about the Zarathi. But we must also remember that humans have strengths they cannot predict. We will survive because we are clever, brave, and united. Laura, Daniel, and Kevin nodded in agreement. They knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but they also knew that humans had faced impossible odds before and had always found a way to endure. That night, Ryan stood alone on the observation deck staring at the stars. He thought about the planet, the Zarathi, and the journey ahead. Humanity had declared its presence to the deadliest species alive. The challenge was immense, but Ryan felt a spark of hope. We may be small compared to them, he whispered, but humans are never predictable. They may be lethal, but we are determined. We will fight, we will survive, and we will prove that humanity is not to be underestimated. In the darkness of space, the Odyssey sailed on. Unknown dangers lurked ahead, but Ryan Hayes and his crew were ready to face them. Each day they grew stronger, smarter, and more prepared. The Zarathi may have underestimated humans, but that mistake would soon show that courage, intelligence, and determination could rival even the deadliest species alive. The Odyssey drifted through a remote part of space, a place where few species dared to go. Captain Ryan Hayes knew that they needed time to recover, repair, and plan their next move. The encounter with the Zarathi fleet had taught them a valuable lesson. Humans could survive, but only by thinking differently and working as one. Laura Mills monitored the ship's navigation. "Captain, we are entering a nebula. The visibility is low, but it could provide cover if the Zarathi pursue us." Ryan nodded. "Good, let's use it to our advantage. Kevin, make sure the engines and shields can handle the interference from the nebula. Daniel, keep scanning for energy signatures. We need to know if they are following us." The Odyssey entered the swirling clouds of the nebula. The sensors flickered under the interference, and the stars outside seemed to blur into streaks of light. Ryan felt a surge of cautious optimism. This was the perfect place to regroup and plan their next steps. In the engineering bay, Kevin Brooks worked tirelessly. He reinforced the ship's hull, adjusted the engines for short bursts of speed, and fine-tuned the shield generators. "Captain," he said, "the ship is ready for anything. If the Zarathi attack, we can dodge, block, and escape with these modifications." Daniel Price was in the lab, studying the energy patterns of the Zarathi. "Captain, I've noticed something. They are extremely powerful, but they rely on a network of signals to coordinate. If we disrupt that network even for a short time, we can gain a significant advantage." Ryan looked thoughtful. "Good work. We need to develop a plan to use that. Humans survive by thinking ahead. We can't fight them directly, but we can outsmart them." Days passed as the crew worked together, analyzing data and training for possible encounters. Ryan emphasized strategy over brute force. Every drill, every test, every simulated attack was a lesson in creativity and adaptation. One day, Daniel discovered a pattern in the Zarathi patrols. "Captain, they follow predictable routes when moving through this sector. We can use this to set traps or gather intelligence without exposing ourselves to full attacks." Ryan nodded. "Excellent. Laura, prepare to follow these routes at a distance. Kevin, make sure the ship can respond quickly. Daniel, monitor the enemy and alert us to any changes." The Odyssey moved cautiously, using the nebula as cover. The crew implemented decoy signals, sending false readings to confuse the Zarathi sensors. Ryan coordinated the maneuvers, making sure the humans acted as one unit. Each step was calculated, every decision precise. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. A Zarathi patrol had detected one of their decoys. The enemy ship moved toward the signal with deadly precision. "Captain, they are approaching fast," Laura warned. Ryan remained calm. "Good. That means our plan is working. Keep moving and don't engage unless necessary. We are learning from this encounter." The Zarathi ship fired energy pulses at the decoy, only to find the Odyssey had moved. Kevin activated a reflective shield, bouncing the pulses away. Daniel adjusted the interference device to confuse the enemy sensors further. Laura piloted through the nebula, weaving between clouds of gas that distorted the Zarathi tracking systems. Ryan felt a sense of pride. His crew had adapted to a dangerous situation, proving that human intelligence and teamwork could survive against even the deadliest species. The Zarathi retreated after several failed attempts, and the Odyssey continued its journey through the nebula. As the days went on, Ryan realized that survival alone was not enough. Humans needed to take the initiative. They needed to strike strategically, using their ingenuity to challenge the Zarathi without engaging in direct conflict. "Captain, I have an idea," Daniel said one evening. "If we can create a temporary blind spot in their communication network, we can send small teams to gather intelligence on their ships and bases. We can learn their weaknesses without risking the Odyssey directly." Ryan considered this carefully. "It is risky, but the potential gain is worth it. We need to plan carefully, make sure the teams are safe, and execute with precision. Humans survive because we are clever. This is our chance to show it." Laura and Kevin worked with Daniel to prepare small, fast shuttles equipped with advanced stealth systems and interference devices. Each shuttle was designed to approach Zarathi ships undetected, gather information, and return safely. Ryan selected teams based on skill and courage, emphasizing the importance of teamwork and planning. The first mission was a test. A shuttle piloted by Laura and accompanied by 2 crew members approached a Zarathi patrol ship. The interference device created a temporary blind spot, allowing the team to gather valuable data on the enemy's shield systems and communication patterns. They returned to the Odyssey without being detected. "Excellent work," Ryan said, reviewing the data. "This is exactly what we need. Humans survive by using our minds, by being unpredictable, and by taking calculated risks. This is how we will gain an advantage over the Zarathi." Encouraged by their success, Ryan sent out more missions, each one carefully planned and executed. The crew learned more about the Zarathi technology, their strategies, and even their behavior patterns. Each discovery strengthened the humans' confidence and their belief in their own abilities. "Captain," Daniel said one evening, "I've noticed that the Zarathi become less coordinated when multiple signals are disrupted at once. If we time our attacks and decoys correctly, we can create confusion and gain a significant advantage in any future battle." Ryan smiled. "Then that will be our strategy. Humans survive by thinking differently, by being clever and adaptable. The Zarathi may be lethal, but they are not invincible." Over time, the Odyssey became more than a ship. It became a symbol of human resilience, intelligence, and courage. The crew learned to trust each other completely, relying on teamwork and quick thinking to survive. Every encounter with the Zarathi, no matter how small, was a lesson in strategy and adaptability. One day, as they prepared for another reconnaissance mission, Ryan addressed his crew. "We have faced a species that many would fear, a species known as the deadliest in the galaxy. Yet here we are, still standing. Humans survive because we think differently. We use our intelligence, our courage, and our teamwork. We adapt, and we never give up." Laura, Daniel, and Kevin nodded, inspired by their captain's words. They knew the challenges ahead would be even greater, but they also knew that humans had a way of turning disadvantages into strengths. Every skill, every decision, every bit of ingenuity brought them closer to surviving and thriving against the Zarathi. As the Odyssey sailed deeper into the nebula, Ryan looked out at the swirling clouds of gas and stars. The Zarathi were still out there watching, waiting, and hunting, but the humans had learned something vital. Survival was not about strength alone. It was about courage, creativity, and the ability to adapt. And with those qualities, humanity could face even the deadliest species alive and come out stronger on the other side. The Odyssey moved through deep space with purpose, every crew member aware that their actions could shape the future of humanity. Captain Ryan Hayes stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the stars. They had learned much about the Zarathi, the deadliest species in the galaxy, and each discovery had made them stronger, smarter, and more determined. "Captain, we are receiving a signal from a nearby system," Laura Mills said, her voice steady but alert. "It's faint, but it seems intentional." Ryan leaned over the console. "Is it Zarathi?" Daniel Price analyzed the signal. "Not their usual patterns. It appears to be some kind of communication or distress call. It could be a trap, or it could be an opportunity to learn more about them." Ryan nodded. "We will investigate, but carefully. Kevin, make sure the engines and shields are at full capacity. Laura, keep a sharp eye on sensors. Daniel, analyze the signal continuously. We need every piece of information we can get. The Odyssey approached the source of the signal, revealing a small planet orbiting a dim star. The surface showed signs of recent activity, possibly Zarathi bases or operations. The crew prepared for the possibility of encountering both danger and valuable intelligence. As they descended, Daniel discovered strange energy patterns emanating from several points on the planet. Captain, these readings are unusual. The Zarathi may be testing new technology or preparing for an operation. We need to gather more data before taking any action. Ryan nodded. Agreed. Laura, keep the ship hidden in orbit while we deploy scanning drones. Kevin, monitor for any energy fluctuations or threats. The drones spread out, moving silently over the planet's surface. They sent back images of towering structures and moving shadows that suggested the presence of intelligent beings. The Zarathi were active but unaware of the Odyssey's presence. Daniel worked quickly to analyze the information, looking for weaknesses, patterns, or opportunities. Captain, I've found something, Daniel said. The Zarathi structures rely on a central energy hub. If we can disrupt or disable it even temporarily, it could give us a significant advantage. Ryan's eyes narrowed. Good. Kevin, can we create a device to interfere with that energy hub without exposing the Odyssey? Kevin nodded. Yes, with careful planning and timing. We can send a small probe equipped with a short-range interference pulse. It would buy us time and give us insight into their defenses. Ryan coordinated the mission with precision. A team led by Laura piloted the probe to the central hub. Daniel monitored the energy patterns while Kevin adjusted the pulse strength to avoid detection. Ryan oversaw every move, ensuring the crew acted as one unit. The probe reached the hub and released the interference pulse. Instantly, sensors on the planet flickered and went offline. Daniel called out readings. It worked. They are temporarily blind and disoriented. We can gather critical data. Laura maneuvered the probe quickly to collect images and scans of the hub's inner workings. The data showed the Zarathi's technology, energy distribution, and potential weaknesses. It was a breakthrough for humanity, giving them knowledge that could be decisive in future encounters. Ryan allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This is what humans do best. We survive, adapt, and turn every challenge into an opportunity. The Zarathi may be powerful, but they have never faced a species willing to learn and think differently. The probe returned safely to the Odyssey. The crew celebrated their success, but Ryan reminded them that their work was far from over. The Zarathi would recover, and future confrontations could be even more dangerous. In the days that followed, the Odyssey continued its mission of intelligence gathering and strategic planning. Ryan emphasized careful observation, learning from every encounter and preparing for both defense and offense. The crew's confidence grew as they realized that humans could not only survive against the Zarathi, but could also challenge them in ways that the deadly species did not expect. One evening, Ryan gathered his crew on the observation deck. We have faced the most lethal species alive and survived. We have learned from every encounter, and we have proven that humans are clever, brave, and adaptable. But this is only the beginning. The Zarathi may strike back with greater force, and we must be ready. Daniel spoke up. Captain, the data we collected could help us design better defenses and even strategic countermeasures. We may be outnumbered and outgunned, but we can be smarter and faster. Kevin added, We've seen what we can do when we work together. Humans survive because we adapt and use our minds. Strength alone isn't enough, Laura nodded. We've proven that we can survive, Captain. And with every success, we grow more confident and capable. Ryan felt a surge of pride. His crew had not only survived, but had learned to thrive against a species that most would fear. They had become a team, united by courage, intelligence, and determination. Humans had declared their presence to the deadliest species alive, and they had shown that survival was possible through strategy and adaptability. The Odyssey sailed on, deeper into the galaxy, prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. Ryan knew that the Zarathi would not forget humanity's presence, but he also knew that humans had a way of turning even the most impossible situations into victories. They survived because they were clever, brave, and unyielding. As the stars stretched into the distance, Ryan stood on the bridge looking out at the endless void. He thought of the battles won, the lessons learned, and the courage of his crew. The galaxy was dangerous, filled with species that could destroy them in an instant, But humans had proven that intelligence, teamwork, and adaptability could make the impossible possible. "We are human," he whispered, "and humans survive. We adapt, we fight, and we never give up. The Zarathi may be the deadliest species alive, but they have underestimated us, and that will be their mistake." The Odyssey had been traveling through a dense sector of asteroids for several days, testing the crew's patience and skill. Captain Ryan Hayes leaned over the navigation console, studying the charts that mapped the twisting paths between enormous rocks. The Zarathi were still tracking them, but the humans had learned to use their surroundings to their advantage. "Captain, sensors are picking up a Zarathi ship approaching from the east," Laura Mills said, her voice tense. "It looks like a scout vessel." Ryan studied the data. "How close?" "Too close to ignore," Laura replied. "They are coming in fast." Kevin Brooks tapped at the control panel, adjusting the shields and weapon systems. "We can try to hide among the larger asteroids. It's risky, but it may confuse their targeting systems." Ryan nodded. "Do it, everyone stay sharp. This will test everything we've learned." The Odyssey weaved carefully between the massive asteroids, the engines barely making a sound. Laura's fingers flew over the controls as she maneuvered through tight spaces, making sudden changes in direction to throw off the Zarathi ship's sensors. Kevin monitored the shields, adjusting power to absorb the energy pulses that the enemy fired, while Daniel Price analyzed the patterns in their movements, calling out predictions in real time. "They are trying to predict our path," Daniel said. "If we keep changing speed and direction, we may be able to confuse them." Ryan's heart raced. "We are human, we adapt. That is our advantage. Let's use it." The Zarathi fired again, beams of energy bouncing off asteroids. Kevin's modifications absorbed some of the energy, but the rest tore through the surrounding rocks, sending shards of stone flying. Laura dodged nimbly, guided by her experience and intuition. The crew worked as one, their training and teamwork making them unpredictable, just as Ryan had hoped. Suddenly, the Zarathi ship released a pulse that jammed the Odyssey's sensors. For a moment, they were blind, unable to see the incoming fire. Ryan didn't panic. "Laura, trust your instincts. Kevin, keep the shields active. Daniel, keep watching for any weak points in their formation." The Odyssey spun through the asteroid field, dodging beams and weaving past massive rocks. Then, using Daniel's calculations, they executed a sudden maneuver, diving into a narrow crevice. The Zarathi ship followed but became stuck, its large frame unable to navigate the tight space. Energy beams ricocheted off the walls, and the humans realized they had created a temporary advantage. "We did it!" Laura exclaimed, relief in her voice. Ryan allowed himself a brief smile. "Not done yet. Stay alert. They may find another way around." Over the next few days, the Odyssey used the asteroid field as a natural fortress. Ryan led the crew in setting traps, using decoy signals and sensor jammers to confuse the Zarathi. They observed enemy patterns, learning when and where the scouts would strike. The humans were small in number, but their unpredictability made them dangerous. Daniel discovered something important during this time. "Captain, the Zarathi rely heavily on communication between their ships. If we can interfere even briefly, we can gain a strategic advantage." Ryan nodded. "Good work, Daniel. Kevin, see if you can modify the ship's systems to send out a pulse that will disrupt their communication. We need a test without provoking a full attack." Kevin worked quickly, creating a device that could emit a short-range interference pulse. The crew prepared for a controlled test, carefully monitoring the surrounding space. Ryan knew the risk. The Zarathi were lethal, and even a small mistake could destroy the Odyssey. "We are ready," Ryan said. "Laura, keep us in a safe position. Daniel, monitor the Zarathi activity. Kevin, prepare the pulse." The device activated, sending out a brief signal that interfered with the Zarathi sensors. For a moment, the humans watched as one of the scout ships became disoriented, its targeting systems temporarily offline. It was a small victory, but it demonstrated that humans could influence even the deadliest species. "It worked," Daniel said, excitement in his voice. "They are momentarily blind." Ryan smiled. "Small steps, but important. We are learning, we are surviving, and that is what matters." The crew continued to test and refine their tactics. They practiced evasive maneuvers, traps, and signal interference. Each encounter taught them more about the Zarathi, and each victory, no matter how small, built their confidence. One day, the Odyssey detected a larger Zarathi fleet moving toward them. The scouts had reported back, and now a full force was on its way. The crew gathered in the conference room, tension thick in the air. "Captain, this is more than we can handle directly," Laura said. "We are outnumbered and outgunned." Ryan nodded. "Yes, but we are human. We have learned their patterns and we have our tactics. We will use the environment, our ingenuity, and our teamwork. We do not need to destroy them all, only to survive and protect what we have learned." Daniel added, "I have been analyzing the fleet's behavior. If we split our movement and create decoy signals, we may be able to scatter them and buy time." Kevin nodded. "I can adjust the engines for bursts of speed and increase shield output in critical moments. It won't make us invincible, but it may give us a fighting chance." Ryan looked at his crew with determination. "We may be smaller, but humans are clever. We will face them not with brute force, but with strategy. We will survive because we adapt and because we work together." The Odyssey moved into position as the Zarathi fleet closed in. Laura piloted through the asteroid field, weaving and dodging, while Kevin adjusted the shields to absorb bursts of energy. Daniel sent out decoy signals, confusing the Zarathi sensors. Ryan coordinated every movement, making sure the crew worked as a single unit. The battle was intense. Energy beams tore through space, ricocheting off asteroids. The Odyssey dodged, countered, and adapted. Each move was calculated, each decision critical. The humans were outnumbered, but their unpredictability made them dangerous. The Zarathi had never faced an enemy that moved and thought so differently. After hours of tension, the fleet began to scatter, frustrated by the humans' evasive maneuvers and clever tactics. The Odyssey had survived not because of superior firepower, but because of human ingenuity and courage. "We made it," Laura said, relief washing over her. "They are retreating." Ryan allowed himself a moment to breathe. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. We have proven that humans can survive against them. We have shown that intelligence and courage can overcome even the deadliest species." Daniel looked at the data. "We have learned more from this encounter than I imagined. Every move, every response has taught us something valuable." Kevin added, "Humans are adaptable. That is our strength. We may not be the strongest, but we are clever and persistent. That may be enough to survive and even win in the long run." Ryan smiled at his team. "Exactly. Humans survive because we never give up. We face challenges that others would flee from, and we find ways to overcome them. The Zarathi may be lethal, but they have underestimated us, and that will be their mistake." As the Odyssey sailed away from the asteroid field, the crew reflected on the encounter. They were alive, stronger, and more confident than before. They knew the Zarathi would continue to hunt them, but they also knew that humans had a way of surviving impossible odds. Ryan stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. He thought about the battles ahead, the dangers yet to come, and the determination of his crew. Humanity had been tested, and they had proven that even against the most lethal species, courage, intelligence, and teamwork could make them formidable. "We may be small, but we are human," he whispered, "and humans always find a way to survive, to adapt, and to fight back. The Zarathi will soon learn that humans are not easy prey.